So I wanted to talk about the Sphinx and what it actually is and means. It seems to be a bit ambiguous in people's minds and approaches. I mean, as a work of art, it's open to interpretation, really. I mean, like anything, but it really does have a specific meaning, and I'm gonna try and get as accurate I can and as simply put as I can as well with it. So we have to begin to understand a few things, like what's with the animal heads, and we got to look at differences in the abstract language, and reasons behind it. There's reasons for all this. It's not just, oh, this is cool, so we'll do it this way. Like different animals or whatever. So I've touched a little bit on this subject in a few other videos, but I'll use this one to see if I can expand more on it, because it's something that probably deserves its own little entire section of observation. Okay, so what does it mean to have an animal head? So we're looking at differences here in species. Like we see division, we see even from the elite, the true divine seems to separate itself from him. The crossed arms, the confused state of the female character in the divided scene, and the same with the Last Supper, how it's divided and the female character is on the side of the negative traits. They're both expressing the same thing, and it's looking at, when it comes to Bloodlines, the Last Supper, that's pretty much what it's showing. It's showing the end of a line. So we're going to look at, another situation where lines have ended, such as when Osirus was taken off the scene. Measures had to be taken to continue the line there, and see, Isis and Osiris, the mother and father of Horus, so to speak, were portrayed as human, but he himself had an animal head, like these other strange gods, depicted mostly as the hawk-headed dude, Hawkman. Here we have Dogman, aka Anubis, with the dog head as well. You can see him in the picture to the right. Yep, should be able to see that. Yeah, we have a human head on the Sphinx. So we're looking at human head, animal head, human body. So what's it saying here? Okay, we're gonna have to explore beyond the eye, I guess, since it can only really see so much of reality. We're going to have to go into what this is suggesting, what does an animal, let's look at an animal in general. Excuse me. Let's see how they don't think like us, basically. They're a different species to start with. Let's look at consciousness wise, evolutionary states, abilities. Okay, so you have an instinctual creature looking at the animal head, his consciousness, his awareness, that seems to know things like How does the salmon know where to go to return to the place of its spawning from the depths of the dark ocean? How does, these animals seem to know things. They just rock up, they're born, and they know. We don't do that. It's a struggle, we're useless, we've got to learn, kind of thing. So in a way, the animal kind of represents more of a godlike state. In that sense, they know things. They're not like us. We got to learn all these things, self-begotten. Even can go as far as saying God's giving birth to themselves, and shit like that. But so hopefully you understand where I'm going with this. So to have them as a god or a force of nature in this system, to have them as an animal head is ideal when it comes to awareness and consciousness. And in the state with Horus, how he begins, he's a hawk-headed, bird-headed dude. I've suggested that, like anyone originally, or even like a god that knows, who's to say it's really sentient, you know what I mean? It might be trapped in its knowing. There's a different kind of sentient awareness there, not just self-awareness. And you see Horus go through this, I believe part of his struggle in that process of self-evolution. Is related to that becoming sentient, because we're all in an amoeba state, really. Okay, so you got an animal head and human body, so we got the capabilities of a human body with this god, so that's handy. But the Sphinx is lacking in its capability within its body. Yet its head is human. Now, we have to look back originally to get the answer, to as far back as even before this Sphinx was made, perhaps. So it's come to most of the population's knowledge that it used to have an animal head. It's become apparent, and has been changed eventually to what we see today. Not too recently, I'm sure, but so lion head originally, maybe because it faced Leo. That's it's irrelevant to finding the core of what we're looking at here anyway. So it used to have an animal head. So I guess before human beings there was something else, and there would have been animals before us. Obviously there were. I mean, we can see that. We know there are, dinosaurs, whatever, before us. Heaps of things here before us. So in a way, you kind of have to look at the animal as a guardian of the planet. Not a keeper, per se, but a guardian. It seems to have some guardian qualities that everyone seems to either pick up on or has read about somewhere. So eventually it becomes a chimera, much I guess chimera is just like a mix or a hybrid in a way as well. It's also something pretty specific, and it's worth looking at chimeras and their history ancient Babylon even. I think there were protectors and guardians there, perhaps that's where it comes from. And we can even see Horus here, depiction of Horus in the form of the guardian. So you got the animal head once again. So it's a godlike state, but not necessarily entirely sentient, like you'd think a super god would be. But so yeah, the chimera didn't originally have a human head. Yeah, so it's showing a chimeric influence or attribute in Horus as well, and as a guardian. So we've got the guardian thing covered. It's pretty well established, but so we got this the human head on it now. To me, represents the new population or guardian of the planet. Like originally it just would have been an animal, a beast, and then it's like while the keepers are in their little temples, whatever species of race they had human form, obviously they share some of our mitochondrial DNA. Like, wow, it doesn't mean they were like, we're the same species at all. Like, their whole consciousness is like, yeah, we have some of the same capabilities and can probably relate, some of us, but yeah, generally I just don't think, if you sequence their DNA code properly, what they were, these truly aged ancients, like going past 40,000 years ago and stuff, like they weren't, I wouldn't call them like humans like us. We're a completely different story, like the riddle of the Sphinx is really our riddle. From what I can see from, just observing as the fog collapses, our riddle too, because it represents us. And from what I'm seeing, they're showing, like in this scene here, the separation and how like there's a broken gene there in the code. It's saying that it's separating it. She's in a confused state. The things aren't copying over properly. There's a confusion, a reversal or something. You see, it basically tells you the right side of awareness is like crippled, like the actual divine feminine attribute within the female is not equal to the genes or consciousness. Like, and Leonardo shows through different techniques the degradation of the bloodlines as well. That's the secret, pretty much, of the female and the bloodlines. And I've pinned it down to viral code. As I also explain in other videos, which I guess I'll go over as well. Like how she had the attributes that triggered a function of recognition, which is kind of what deja vu is, even within Da Vinci. He's replicated that by using himself as a model, and his mother, to show those genetic traits. It gives the click. It's all subconscious stuff, by the way. This is like, which is connected to the right brain, largely. yeah, and that other side of awareness, which is pretty much, yeah, the divine feminine as well. So, but, yeah, he wasn't going for it. I don't know, plus she was already married, but beside the fact, he's showing that, yeah, it wasn't, she had this, like, those traits there, but it wasn't equal to, yeah, himself, what he was. And the Egyptians make a point of this as well. Even in, like, the lower class tombs, you can find, the only place you'll find this is in the lower middle class, not the normal people. Like, even the big boys separate themselves from even the middle class. Like, it's only, but you won't find that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of middle class action going on, you know, despite the gold and sarcophagus and stuff, like with the apparent lack of care and all these other little things, like you'd say it's a middle class tomb. But yeah, that's what they made a point of that too, because what is in the coffin, the corpse, is not genetically equal to the god status it's given on the external, which is the point of all this. So back to the Sphinx. The incapability of the body as an animal form. So, you know, like, despite our thumb, there is a hidden aspect which is assisting this gene degradation, dissolution, contributing to a lot of genetic drift and doing its own gene editing, replicating things, like editing out all sorts of stuff, like, you know, all sorts of traits, from psychological to purely genetic. And they, in response to this within the system, like, they haven't separated it from the system, like it's all kind of united in one kind of thing, yeah, like a happy family with this virus, but they've included, but it has its place, it is separated, there's a separation there, and it belongs to a process which I pointed out Horus goes through as well in his battle with Set. It's kind of pretty much alluded to. Yeah, the removal of his own eye shows his kind of disdain for, yeah, what it's doing there, and there are reasons for why he would be in that state, with the lack of father and the gathering of the parts, so to speak. So if we follow these mirrors, we can, you know, everyone for themselves kind of look at it, and like not all of it's complicated. You don't always have to read the hieroglyphics. I haven't got around to that yet even, like, don't know, it seems a bit intense. I like pictures. Anyway, so it's enough abstractions for today.